Hello and welcome to this guide for defeating the Ninth Sister in Jedi Survivor. This is Ash for the Triple S League. We're going to go through the entire fight here. I'm going to take you through all the phases of the fight and look at some of her moves and strategies. I'm going to assume that you're familiar with the basics of combat in this game, including blocking, parrying, dodging, and also how those gray bars work, both yours and the enemy's. People call them different things: stance bars, posture bars, stamina bars, block meters, guard meters. To avoid confusion, I usually just call it the gray bar. If you want some help with the combat basics as well as more advanced strategies, I do have a guide available for Jedi Fallen Order, the previous game in this series. There are some differences obviously, but the combat systems in both games are very similar, especially when it comes to the ground level basics like unblockable attacks or the relationship between your health meter and your gray bar, those kinds of things. I'll put a link to that guide in the description below. Now when you're heading into the Ninth Sister fight, if you have died to her before, the first thing you want to do is find the glowing spot on the ground where you died. You have to touch this to get back any XP that you lost when she killed you. Normally you have to damage the enemy that killed you to get your XP back. In certain situations, it'll just be a glowing spot on the ground. If you're far away, she'll often do this ranged attack where she throws her saber. You can parry these and it actually does bring down her guard. Parried it twice and her gray bar's at half before I even get within striking range. Unblockable attack here, dodge to the side, and as you can see I got in a couple of hits even though she had some gray bar left. Then parry another attack, break her stance completely, and get in some more damage. I know it kind of sounds like I'm commentating a sports match, but really this first phase of the fight is all about the basics. It's like fighting any other large enemy, knowing when to parry, when to dodge, and when to find those openings to get damage. Here you see again, she staggers and I get in some hits because I broke her guard with some well-timed parries. It's helpful to use your target lock. It lets you strafe to the side like this while continuing to face your enemy. Another unblockable attack backwards dodge, not able to get a hit from there. Then she does an overhead slam, successful parry, and even though her guard is not broken, she's open for a hit because she kind of brings her saber around behind herself, and one small hit is enough to end the first phase and we go into this cutscene, which I'm going to skip. Phase 1 is pretty straightforward, as long as you know the combat basics that we talked about earlier. Phase 2 is where things start to get interesting. The Ninth Sister starts doing this mind trick thing, and while she's doing this, you can't hit her. She perfectly predicts all of your attacks and dodges out of the way. But every once in a while, she will ignite her saber and attack you, and that's where you need to parry, start to bring down her guard, and eventually stagger her, and that's when you can damage her. And then after you've done some damage, she kind of just goes into a normal combat phase for a little while. It's fairly similar to phase 1. Eventually she'll do the mind trick thing again. Essentially rinse and repeat. And you know she's about to attack because she ignites her saber. For some reason she turns it off when she's doing the mind trick. Here's an example of guarding instead of parrying. As you can see, as she's wailing against my saber defense, my gray bar went down instead of hers, and if she were to keep doing that, or if there were other enemies hitting me at the same time, then I would be the one getting staggered and taking a lot of damage. So if you get stuck in that situation, try to break out of it by dodging out of the way or getting a parry in somewhere. So this is where you unlock the dual saber stance. And the final phase of this fight serves as a bit of a tutorial for the stance. The basics are still the same, but she does have some new moves and is a little more aggressive. She smacks the ground and sends out these shock waves. Just jump over them. So I didn't do quite as well in this phase as I did in the first two. Forgot to dodge instead of trying to parry that unbreakable attack. This force choke thing where she pulls you close doesn't actually hurt you, but it can throw you off. As you can see, I was completely unprepared for the other unbreakable grab she did right after that. She does do the force choke pull in the second phase as well, but I avoided it by just staying close to her the whole time. She will do the mind trick in the third phase as well. You deal with it pretty much the same way. The big thing to watch out for in this phase are her new, really fast, unblockable attacks. You might be able to counter these force pushes or pulls with your own force push or pull. I have not tried it. I didn't really think of it while I was recording this. Worth trying out. Let me know in the comments if it helps at all. Something else to keep in mind about Phase 3, she starts attacking really fast, and she can interrupt your attempts to heal. You see it right there. She did the force grab while I was trying to use a stim and totally interrupted it. And if you're not able to heal, or if you don't notice that your heal wasn't successful, that could be a very bad situation. So, if you get low on health, priority 1 should be to put some distance between you and her and use a stim, assuming you have one left. I'm really not happy with this Phase 3. I made all kinds of mistakes here. I guess this will be a lesson in what not to do. You are watching my first successful Phase 3, which was deliberate because I wasn't sure if I actually defeated her fully, if the game would let me go back and fight her again. So I deliberately died a bunch of times so I could go back and practice the first 2 phases and really learn the strategies. And right here at the end, the game teaches you one of the special moves you can do with the dual saber stance. It's an automatic parry. Uses force power. Could I have used that earlier in the fight? I'm not actually sure. There's something else you could try out, and let me know in the comments. In any case, hope this was helpful. Please do slam that like button. If it was, subscribe. Maybe even consider a super thanks, and I'll see you in the next video. Did you enjoy that video? Let us know by slamming that like button and leaving a comment below. And if you found it helpful or informative, consider hitting that super thanks button or checking out the other support options in the description. Subscribe for tons more guides and other fun videos. And for insightful gaming news content, check out our sister channel, Triple S Podcast.